All right, everyone, as Blake reported just earlier, President Trump has slapped new tariffs on imported wash machines and solar panels. Take a look at this chart here. We've got more than 85% of our solar panels that are imported from Asia. And when it comes to wash machines, the top two importers are China and Mexico. Now, some are warning this is going to hurt consumers. It's going to drive prices up. But the president says it's all about putting America first by hiring more American workers to make more American products. Here to debate the issue, Conservative Review contributor Tom Borelli and Democratic strategist Jessica Tarlov. Good to see you guys.
Hey, Jessica.
Tom, I'll start with you because, historically, a lot of conservatives have been very pro-free trade. I think that Donald Trump turned that on its head in this election cycle because people have woken up. And basically, if you look at trade data going back to the 1970s, that's where things really started to shift. Americans have said, wow, we got the short end of this stick.
Well, certainly, and the Rust Belt has a name, Rust Belt, for that reason. And I think what President Trump is doing, he's keeping his promises, the American First agenda for the forgotten men and women of the United States. And this is not his first action. Remember, he got our country out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That was round one. That would have been another horrible, huge trade deal. Now he's doing tariffs. And he's sending a message. He's putting actions behind words. And that's what a real leader does. They match their words with action.
I don't know, Jessica, I think he's stealing your thunder there. I mean, what are the unions going to do now? If the president is saying, okay, no to TPP, he's saying no to the washers, dryers coming from China or Mexico. I mean, this is a whole
maybe
new
aluminum
way.
and steel next.
A whole new way of thinking. Is he going to scoop up all those voters that, previously would have wanted the Democrats to do this?
I'm not sure. I think we're going to have to see how this plays out. I certainly believe that this is the president fulfilling one of his promises. This was big talk on the campaign trail that he was going to get us better deals and make sure that we brought jobs home. The concerns, as you pointed out when you introduced the segment, about the cost to the consumer are going to be incredibly important because we might have some more jobs, but if people are paying a ton more for their products, that's going to be a problem, even if they did get a few more dollars back. Yeah, I think so. I think people like low prices on their products.
We've got really low prices, right? I mean, super low prices. It's one of the reasons we get no inflation in this economy right now because the competition, which generally is a good thing on Amazon, for example, Tom, is so stiff that we really have seen consumer goods just plummet in terms of what the costs are. So in some ways, Americans live a better standard of living. But let me ask you this. If, for example, this iPhone was made in the United States of America, pick a state, I'm going to go with Kansas. If they made it in Kansas, and it costs $5,000. I'm still going to need it. You're still going to need it. Jessica's still going to need it. Yeah, it's going to cost us all a lot more money, and money that, maybe a lot of Americans don't have. But here's the difference. That money is then going to support a family in Kansas where you've got parents that are going to work, and they have the pride of work. And they're able to take care of their family. And guess what? You and I don't have to foot the bill for the disability payments or the Medicaid or the CHIP program or anything else that comes with a large percentage of people not working.
Right. With trade, it's always the devil's in the details. These massive trade agreements were never really good for the American people. And this is what President Trump is doing. And there was a good policy and obviously, good politics behind this. Remember, he won Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. Right. This is important for the American people. And what we need to do for way too long, our country really was the punching bag of the world. And President Trump said, no, there's a new sheriff in town. Pay attention. And this is just the first volley. I don't expect to be a huge trade war. He's sending a message to Canada, to Mexico, that I will have action.
Well, look, if there was going to be a trade war, I can tell you, Jessica, the markets wouldn't really like it. But I'm looking at a market that's pretty much at the flat line right now. So it tells you investors are not too worried. Do you really think that the trade war rhetoric is appropriate right now because he put a few tariffs on some washing machines?
It's certainly an initial signal that we're moving in a particular direction. And China would be the big losers if we had a trade war with them, and they're acutely aware of that. It doesn't mean they're going to like moves like this with the solar panels and whatever else President Trump might move on to. But certainly the market would be responding to it. We're not seeing that right now, but this is just the beginning. He said he's going to roll out a lot more proposals and executive orders for this. And we just heard from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Davos that they already put together a new trade deal without us in the TPP. We'll see how that all pans out and if we can get great individual agreements with these countries. I would say, though, about your example, the $5,000 iPhone out of Kansas, I still think that is going to cost too much for Americans. We would all love it if we could have American-made products for the vast majority. We are a country that should work with other countries, but $5,000 for an iPhone to that example.
I'm making $5,000 up, by the way. Who the heck knows? Maybe it would be $2,000, maybe it would be $3,000. The point I'm making is maybe we all scale back a little. Maybe we have a little less. I mean, you think about America in the 1950s, right, and the optimism that existed, and people had one car, and you had one parent working, and you had sort of this utopia version of the country that doesn't exist anymore, because today, you know, if you're lucky enough to have two parents in one household, they may both be working. The kids may be letting themselves in at night, yet people have 6 TVs.
It's a great thing to have women in the workplace. I mean, look, we're sitting here, we're having a fabulous time. So this is obviously a great development for us.
I'm not suggesting that women not work. You know that. You know me.
Of course, that's why I'm saying that we know that there have been advances in society that have benefited all of us, and some of that is from two-parent households, two-parent working households. No one wants kids letting themselves in at night, and we want to make sure that we can cover all of those expenses.
Right. And somehow we've like meandered a bit, or meandered, I should say, off into the boonies here. But the point being that there was a time in this country when you could get a high school education and you could get a good darn job and you could take care of your family and you could go on a vacation once a year. And Tom, those days are gone. Can they come back? And if we are more protectionist, can they come back?
Look, I think what President Trump do is leveling the playing field. Let's not forget, he got the United States out of the Climate Paris Accord, which was huge. We're now going to be an energy exporter. He's unleashing the development of natural resources. Those aren't little retail jobs at minimum wage. These are great production, great jobs, great wages, and it helps our national security as well. We're exporting liquefied natural gas to Poland. That doesn't make the Russians feel very comfortable.
Look, I don't know the answers on this, but I think it's fascinating that we're talking about it in very different ways. And it's important for Americans that we start to think about this in very pro-American ways. Tom, Jessica, thank you so much.